Council. I'm going live.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Helotes City Council. It's June 9th, 2022. The time is 7 p.m. What we're going to do here is we're going to invite Miss Regina Pope, Minister for the New Creation Church, to come give our invocation. You'll rise with me, please.
Most gracious God, our Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come together to lead this great city. We ask right now that you would imbue this council with wisdom and with power. Lord, give them creativity of thought and innovation in how they lead and the decisions that must be made. We thank you for your presence in this place. We thank you for your presence in this great city. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All men in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. All right, I'd like to acknowledge that we have Council Member Matt Merchant joining us via, what are we on here, Zoom? Okay. Make sure we got the right notation there. At this time, we're going to have a public hearing to give all interested parties the right to appear and be heard on a request by Gillette Co. LLC for a specific city council approved use permit to add a drive-through to Mary's Taco at their current property. Do we have anybody signed up for the public hearing?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
You can also.
Oh, at the time, the time will be 7:03. Opening the public hearing with nobody signed up to speak, nobody speaking, it will close also at 7:03. At this point, we'll move to citizens be heard. Do we have any citizens signed up to be heard? None. Okay. At this time, we'll be going on to our consent agenda items, number 4 and 5. Looking for a motion and a second to approve items as listed.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question.
Sure.
I don't want to pull the item. I just have a question about the revenue and expense report on page 6. Okay. It's not a huge item. I just was curious about the overtime. It's not large numbers, but it looks like we're like $1,500 in overtime. And I don't know if Marion or if Selena know, is that our police force, or is this just indicative of us maybe being undermanned in certain areas of operations? Or
Marion, you want to address that?
You're talking about the dispatch overtime, correct?
It's under personnel overtime on page 6.
Right, page 6, that's the dispatch expenditure. The reason we have overtime is that we've been short on staff, and so the current staff has been covering through the overtime. And
Okay.
that's why you see the regular salaries be at 49% instead of 66%.
Roger that. Okay, thanks. I'm
You're
good.
welcome.
It does offset. Also, we have less overhead on that overtime than we do if we had another person. That being said, we're still looking to increase that, and we do have a new person in dispatch at this point, just joined us recently. Okay, any other questions? If not, looking for a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 4 and 5 as written.
So I'll go ahead and move that we approve consent agenda items number 4 and 5.
Motion made by Sanders, second by
I'll second.
Crossan. No discussion needed. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as written, say aye.
Aye.
Matt Merchant, we got you in there?
Aye.
Okay, there we go.
Wake up.
All opposed? There's that mute button. All right, motion carries. That brings us to the mayor's report. We have a couple of updates. I'd like to inform everybody that we are having the Helotes Independence Day celebration at the Helotes Festival Association Fairgrounds again this year. It will be Sunday, July 3rd, beginning at 4 p.m. And we will have plenty of vendors out there for food. We're going to have music. I believe our Helotes Community Band will be out there. And of course, some amazing fireworks. Traditionally, we've held them here on the grounds, and there would be about 1,000 or so people. Last year, we held it for the first time at the Festival Association Fairgrounds, and we had between 5,000 and 6,000 people run over into the parking lots of the school. So fantastic turnout. So we're looking forward to you all joining us for that great event. We do have a blood drive in partnership with the University Health System on Wednesday, July 27th. This is in response to the Uvalde shootings. And so if you can, please take part in the blood drive. It'll be at here at City Hall from 11 in the morning till 3 p.m. on Wednesday, July 27th. Couple of quick items. First, on a personal note, we were happy to dedicate our flag retirement box that was given to us by an Eagle Scout, Wyatt, that just completed his Eagle badge. And so if you ever have any flags that need retiring, they can be deposited in the what looks like a post office box, painted up like a flag. And once a month, they will come and take the flags, and they will retire them in proper fashion, which is actually burning them. And they expect to get about 30 flags a month. Additionally, on a personal note, I'd like to congratulate the girls of O'Connor High School. Their softball team went to state finals and won the state championship. And we'll be hosting a parade for them Thursday in Old Town at 7 p.m. So pass the word and come on out and cheer our girls for an amazing accomplishment. We're very proud of them. I do have a final remark. I have stayed out of the political realm of what happened in Uvalde, but I wanted to make a comment here about how we take safety in the city of Helotes. I take it very seriously. As you all, I'm sure, are aware, I'm a firefighter for San Antonio, and it's a third generation firefighter, so public safety is in my blood for sure. And while we are a very safe community, we enjoy that because of our fantastic police department. And I see Chief Hunley's out there in the audience. Thank you, Chief, for all you've done over the many years in ensuring the safety of our citizens and our businesses. But obviously everybody aware that our city has grown and safety is a constant issue. I want to, while we can never guarantee that nothing will happen here, I can guarantee you that I am working very hard to do everything that is possible to make our city the safest it can be, to be able to be prepared to respond in case of any unfortunate situation, but also to protect us from the day in and day out threats that we encounter, whether it be speeding or people with sticky fingers trying to make a living off of our belongings in our cars. But very much want to thank our police department and let them know that I support them 100%, as does, I'm sure, all of our council speaking on their behalf. At this point, we're going to go ahead and move on to item number 7. Looking for a motion and a second for discussion and action on item number 7 is written.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we discuss and take action on item number 7 as written.
Massey, second by
I'll second it.
Sanders. Councilmember?
Yes, for the record, I did watch the P&Z meeting Tuesday night from home, so I saw this. I guess my only, and P&Z approved this 100%, and I see no issues with it. So I just I agree with the vote, and I see no issues with this.
Councilman?
I didn't catch it during the P and Z meeting, but originally I thought it was going to be a window. But they're actually going to come out, it looks like they're going to come out and deliver the food right there at the steps is the way, which is fine. That's kind of like what Sonic does, right? So it's just an observation. I didn't catch it when I watched the P and Z presentation as well. So I don't have an issue with it. I think all of us up here are really happy that business has been in there for about a year, and they've been thriving. They've been doing very well. And so thus the reason why they want to actually add this to their service, and hopefully they continue to do good business and that they do well.
I don't have anything.
Sir?
Nothing.
All right. Yes, I agree. It's an excellent addition. Glad that they are expanding their business already. They've only been with us a couple months and already expanding, so that's good news for our businesses here in town. Okay, so all in favor of approving item number 7 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. This time looking for a motion and second for discussion and action on item number 8 as written.
Mr. Mayor, I motion that we discuss and take action on item number 8.
Second?
I second that.
Sir?
Okay, so I'll just throw my questions out there just to get them all out there at once. First and foremost, when's the grant awardees announcement date? When is the funding date? How will this impact our workshops in July? And whose idea was it?
So I will give a synopsis, and then I'll ask Chief to come up if there's any specific questions. But generically, throughout last year, particularly in dealing with dispatch, I was looking at whatever ways we could possibly positively affect our finances. And that included looking for grants and encouraging dispatch to look for grants, and they did. But through that process, I also encouraged all of the departments to look for available grants that could happen. I personally believe that planning for the city, especially in the police force, has fallen behind a little bit, as you know, but we're also not in an immediate position to be able to take on 4 officers. So the question is there possibly grants? Fire department has come up with a grant that it's called a SAFER grant, and very common throughout the nation, and essentially allows the funding of a fire officer for a number of years, and then the city picks up the tab. I was hoping and I was encouraging the police department to look for something similar. What they came up with was this grant, which is similar in nature, but only covers we still have to come up with 25% of the cost for the first couple of years, and then we take on the full amount. And so whose idea? It's kind of where the idea generated from. And my thought behind it was, I know that we're going to have about 600 more houses coming in Brycewood. And also, the work that we're doing as far as trying to remedy some financial situations, dispatch, and future revenue streams that we are looking at, that by the time 3 years rolls around, at least for those officers, we'll have further development, and I felt confident that we could afford to pay our share out of our current operating budget. And by the time we got 3 years down the road, we would have sufficient more development that we know is already on the way, that would be able to cover that cost without adversely affecting our budget. So it fits well with our needs. We obviously need some police officers right away. It will take a while, and I don't know, Chief, you have some more information on how long it will take, but there's a process of submitting this application, the review of it, and when they finally approve it, then there is the whole advertising, getting the people hired on. So it will be quite some time before that process starts. So it very well may be close to 4 years before we're actually coming up with having to pay for the whole amount. Look, I'm being able to get them within this next year, right? Obviously, I would imagine 9-month range type by the time they're hired on. So it does take a process to get through and actually go through the hiring process and certification and whatnot.
Well, I think it's a great idea, and I appreciate everybody involved who collectively came up with it. In terms of this particular item, I'm going to support it. I just, since we brought it up right now, without a quorum issue, asking you offline about the workshop next month, I was just curious as to, in our minds right now, kind of sounds like go ahead and, hope that we get this, but walk into the workshop next month, not counting on this.
Well, the idea is that, I guess how I would approach that is that prepare for that 25% cost, at least as we plan our budget,
Okay.
anticipating that we would get that approval, and so that the monies would be there to fund it. And if for some reason we are not approved, well, that money would still be in our, it's not like we lost that money, it would just shift over into contingency or be available for other use pending further council action, but we prepared for it. Looking at our numbers, that amount, the 25% amount, is not going to negatively affect our budget this year.
Okay. I appreciate it. That's it.
Okay, that brings us to Councilmember Stones.
Yeah, all my questions were answered. I only had one additional question, and this is more of a new council member understanding these federal programs. Sometimes a federal program, as you know, with all the ARPA work, can lead to a significant amount of burden or work for the city staff in terms of meeting grant requirements or certain restrictions the federal government would put. The first page gives us, a nice breakdown of unallowable and allowable costs. Beyond that, it sounds like there's a lot of freedom in this grant, correct?
There is,
requirements.
yeah, there's a kind of a hefty little bit of a requirement to be involved with community policing, and that we do have a little bit of room to work. My idea, and working with Chief, and please jump in if you feel there's anything to add, Chief, we need to get more police officers in our communities. So the nature of where this grant was going, kind of wanting to keep people in the communities, whether we even get them sometimes on foot and talking with people face to face and build those relationships on when we bring those new officers on, we can start them out in that without any having to overcome current officers. Well, this is my current work and now you're changing my job designation, if you will. Chief, do you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I'll answer any questions, but I don't have anything else to add.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to kind of go back and answer McCrossan and Jen's question.
Okay.
This grant is due mid-June, and then they will announce whoever receives this grant in the fall. And then from there, we will provide any verification they need. So we don't see hiring until probably, after January or so. Like the mayor said, we will put it in the budget as anticipation that we get the grant. And then the requirements, and you're right, I mean, what the mayor said, we will have to do some reporting on an annual basis like any other grant, but that report will come in, we will provide it, stuff we already track and already have within our system. So it should not be a lot of extra burden on staff to be able to complete that report.
Thank you.
Now, I just want, on the allowable costs, I noticed it doesn't say salary.
Well, the salary is what the grant covers. It's your base salary is included in that. Maybe we should have typed that in. I think maybe they thought that was a foregone, because we pay 25% and they cover 75% up to an allowable amount. So it does cover the proportional charge, right?
Because there is usually a base salary and then
Right.
all of these are added to it,
Correct.
which makes the salary larger. That's why, but it's,
Correct, the overhead.
but it would still include the salary even though
Yes,
it's-
yes.
Right, it's actually everything, if you look on the page 3, can you hear me? It's actually everything that you look on page 3, where it lists the salary, the holiday, FICA, workman's comp, state unemployment, TMRS, the vision, dental, life, all those that are listed is what that salary cost is. And they'll pay up to 41,000. We'll pay the 25, any addition above the 41, which is 7. So each year will be 23,000, but it includes everything in that chart.
Okay.
So
Oh, I
yes.
see the chart now. Okay. All right, that's it.
That's support.
Okay. With no further discussion, all in favor of approving item number 8 as written, say aye.
Aye.
Matt? There we go. All opposed? Motion carries. At this point, we're going to go to item number 9, looking for a motion and a second to discuss, take action on item number 9 as written.
Mr. Mayor, I move we discuss and take action on agenda item number 9.
Sanders for motion, second by
I'll second.
So when I first saw this, I was a little bit confused. Marion kind of squared me away on it. So, so they identify Helotes has a police department, and that we actually have a dispatch center, and this is really more towards the 9. Correct me if I'm getting it wrong, Marion or Mayor, but it's really, you know, the 911 services is what this is really about. It's not about any other topics that we've been working on council over the last couple meetings. So I really don't see, I know I personally don't see any need for us to add any comments to this document, because it seems like they just want us to coordinate on this document.
So essentially, it's very similar to county budget or Bear County appraisal district, and they put out their system-wide, and we're being notified because we are a participating entity in the Metro 911.
Correct.
Which they refer to it as the district. There's 40 participating jurisdictions, and there's 21 emergency operation centers in this, what is called the district. And just to clarify for those people that don't understand, because we use 911 and we think about that, that's people answering the call. Metro 911 is really the technology in ensuring that the call gets there. It doesn't answer the phone. So we provide our dispatch center to answer the phone, and that's our cost of it. This is the Metro Center for ensuring the technology that whatever cell phone you happen to be in, it gets routed to the right dispatch center.
So that's a great way of describing it, because my initial thought, I was looking at as the person picking up the call, a dispatch center. So anyways, I don't see any reason for us to add or change or modify or make any recommendations to this document.
Based on what my colleague just asked in the answer, I have nothing to add to this.
I'm fine with it.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I keep taking your vote, but I never ask you, Councilman Merchant, you got anything to add?
No, sir. Thank you,
Okay.
though.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Out of sight, out of mind. Dude, put in a little bigger picture on the front there.
I'll do it.
All in favor of approving item number 9 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. At this point, we're going to have a presentation by SCC Development Company and Paravel. Did I say that right? Paravel Capital? Thank you. Regarding a proposed mixed-use development pursuant to Municipal Code of Ordinances, Chapter 98 zoning, Article 6, planned unit development on the property located along Bandera Road of State Highway 16 and identified as BCAD property ID number 242013. Gentlemen, lady, as you see fit, go ahead and present. And I will inform everybody that this is really kind of a conceptual presentation. This is not an official application. They're looking for input and commentary of whether or not this is a project that they feel that we would like to see go forward. It's not a voting item. We're not approving or disapproving in this evening. We are just, we will be able to ask questions and clarifications and give input, et cetera. But at this point, take it away, sir.
Great. Thank you all for having me. My name is Adam Love with SCC Development. And we originally contracted for this property, oh gosh, I'm just going to say around the start of 22. And the idea was for us to do a retail development. We've historically done retail developments For the last 20 years, done about 6.5 million feet, built for every tenant you can imagine. Site planned it for retail, it's zoned for retail, but once we really dug into the market and the community, we felt like doing a mixed-use development made more sense, not for just the site, but the community in general. So what we've re-site planned is a mixed-use project with some commercial, more regional type retail with for rent, single family. I think we've got 230 units on there? Yeah. We've done some other asset types in the past outside of retail, but we brought in Parallel Capital because these guys really specialize in this type product, and so I'll let Curtis kind of speak to the actual for rent single family.
I'm Curtis Thigpen with Parallel Capital. I think just for information purposes, I was planning to go through kind of the preliminary concept that we have here, just to answer any potential questions or just kind of give some color around the entire development, kind of the thought behind the design and the intentionality behind what we have here. So this is a great slide to be on to go through this. So first off, as you can see, maybe some of the bullet points, but maybe not. The site's a total of 31.5 acres. And right now we have 24.5 dedicated to the residential portion and about 7 dedicated to retail. And on the front end of this and through our kind of due diligence period, as we're under contract, we've completed the necessary environmental studies, geological studies, drainage studies to make sure that we're appropriately addressing those potential issues that are on the site. And unlike a lot of developments we would do, we've been pretty intentional about trying to have as much green space here as feasibly possible. And so there's almost a third of the site, or actually a little more than a third of the site, almost 12 acres, 11.92 acres is made up of green space or open space or permeable space. That would be park space, courtyards, yards, common area space, the detention pond that's on the page, the northeast corner, page northeast. And so just again, for most developments like this, we typically would not have as much green space and buffer zone and setbacks. And so something to point out. Currently the retail is shown, and again, it's preliminary concept, but it's shown as about 43,000 square feet of retail, and currently shown at about 220 parking spaces, which is more than what would be required for the retail portion. And I think it's worth noting that 100% of the retail is designed to front Bandera and not be on Scenic. And then we currently have 230 residential units here that are made up of detached homes and then also some paired homes that are front to back that are more in the interior of the property. The thought behind all the detached are on the perimeter of the property that front Scenic and on the Page West property line to give from a outside looking in on Bandera and on Scenic, you see the detached homes with garages that are on the perimeter of the property. Again, we designed it with large buffer zones and setbacks. I mean, the buffer on the Page North is 145 feet. And again, just a lot of green space. And the general feel of the property will be a higher end for rent residential community. From a aesthetics perspective, the exteriors will be kind of Texas Hill Country design, limestone, standing seam roofs, board and batten, pitched roofs. On the interiors, we'll have stainless steel appliances, quartz countertops, hardwood floors. So it'll have a higher end look and feel. And the homes will live, feel, and function more like a home than it would any kind of apartment community or most rental properties that I think a lot of people have a connotation of thinking of. Again, and the property will be professionally managed. So with 24-hour maintenance, lawn care, And so it's a really turnkey type development, kind of lock and leave type development. From an amenities perspective, and if you can go back to the site plan, it'll show kind of the interior of the community. We'll have a clubhouse that has meeting space and co-working space, state-of-the-art fitness center, a resort-style pool, and throughout the community, we'd have a dog park, dog wash station, fire pits, grilling stations. And so from an amenity perspective, it'll be top-notch and something that sets it apart from a lot of other competitors or even your general kind of neighborhood or residential community. On the parking side of things, we have a combination of attached garages and that are on the detached homes. The 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom detached homes has attached garages, and then it's a combination of tucked-in spaces that could potentially have a carport, and then street and parallel street and kind of 90-degree street parking. All the drives in the area, and we've gotten feedback from fire department and a number of other staff within the city, and all the streets are either at or greater than what the required widths would be, especially taking into consideration fire department and the needs there in the event of emergency. Let's see. From a rents perspective and the rents side of things, it's market driven. And so there's kind of an unknown there. We'll do a deep dive into the market as we kind of, if we got to that stage to kind of set rents, but they'd be on the upper end of for rental properties, but still a significant discount to what a mortgage property tax, all in monthly payment for a resident, owned home. We got the question on Tuesday, why this kind of for rent concept versus build these as for sale. And that's just a product of, our strategies kind of meet the market where the demand is and, and try to offer kind of a great value proposition for the community. And, home prices in the past year are up 25% in this area year over year. Interest rates are up over 2% or 2%, 2.5% close to now. And so the discount for what rent could potentially be here, that again includes maintenance, there's no property taxes included in that, insurance included in that. It's a significant discount to what someone would pay to buy a entry-level home or a kind of medium-priced home in this area when you include mortgage, property taxes, insurance, and even add in some maintenance costs. So again, we feel like there'll be a lot of demand for this product because again, it lives and feels and functions more like a home. You have unbelievable amenities, 24-hour maintenance, lawn care. There's a 12-month commitment. There's no down payment that has to be saved, similar to buying a home. And so we just feel there's a lot of demand for that right now and will continue to be. I think that's about all I have on it, but happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
I have quite a few, but I'm going to go ahead and defer. We'll start with.
I have a few questions. I don't see any exit on Bandera Road for the residents.
Scroll up to the master.
Yeah, so that's one thing I didn't address. So there's 3 access points on the site, 2 on Bandera, and let me
I can't tell from.
Yeah, here we go.
I can't see it.
Or if you want to point it up on the back wall.
It doesn't show up
on the back wall.
I can.
Okay, so Selena, go ahead and put your cursor.
That's the first.
There's one right there.
Go to this, the slide before that.
I see both of them.
So
I see
all
that there's
these-
2 entrances into the retail area. Sure. I don't see how they connect to the resident.
They will all connect back to the residential, and so
Because they don't on this.
they do.
They do.
You just have to keep driving.
So
Well, mine doesn't show it. I'm sorry. I just can't see that it's connected.
So there could be some redesign to make it more streamlined, maybe not as many turns into that, but
Because, I see, because there's not a,
So they got little.
What you're seeing,
You mean
the
a
white,
direct-
those
no.
are sidewalks.
Yeah,
like
okay,
crosswalks.
so you do have this plan, but my issue too is the fact that I think you mentioned that you had gone back and forth whether this should be gated or not. It's not a gated community the way it's presented here, correct? And why is that?
it could be, it's still kind of.
Because I think especially if you're talking high end, a gated community is going to be a good deterrent too for just people coming in. And I really think that, that we need to really strongly suggest that.
Yeah, and that's something that could easily be done, and again, it would be to our benefit as the owners. of
So
the
then in
residential.
this situation, there would be 3 gates then into the residential area. Right?
Is that a question?
Yes,
Well, if you gated all 3 entrances, yes.
yes. And why wouldn't you?
I'm not saying you wouldn't. I'm just
This is
clarifying.
preliminary. We might gate them, we might not. I mean, it's.
Well, but I think that it
discussion
needs to be
purposes.
gated because,
Sure.
you know, because of what you're asking this, you know. The other thing is, one of the things, first of all, I want to thank you guys for coming, and I do like the mixed use concept. We've been working on this for several years, our EDC and the city, so this is a very nice concept. I do like the residential in the back and this in the front. But one of the reasons we were, and then I was a little concerned that there's so many rentals. One of the things too that's a little bothersome is everything is 2-story and there's no single story. And I understand 2-story, you can put more, you know, more square footage. However, one of the reasons that we had talked in the past about having rentals was for, you know, this is an aging community. I mean, we have a lot of young people come in, young families. So the potential people who would be moving into something like this might be someone retired who wants to sell their big ranch house and move into something smaller. And they would probably want a single story. And so I would just like you to consider perhaps putting some single stories in there for the residents who want to stay in Helotes, and, you know, like a little bit more elderly, but they don't want to go up and down stairs. So that's a demographic that I would like for y'all to consider. And obviously we have, you know, young people who want to stay around here, maybe go to college and they want to live here and have their own place. And so that you've got a lot for them. How many single stories do you have here?
It's all 2-story.
I'm sorry, I meant 1 bedroom.
It's, again, that's preliminary. We would do a deep kind of market study to understand where the demand is, and we would build to that, because it would benefit us to build to what the demand is, not, you know, we don't want to sit there with a vacant property. But
Right.
currently, it's showed at about 35%, 1 bedrooms.
1
Majority would
bedrooms.
be 2 bedrooms.
More would be.
Over half would be 2 bedrooms.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. And you had a few 3 bedrooms, right?
10 to 15% 3 bedrooms.
Okay. Okay, so let me see, there is that. Oh, trash pickup. Where is the trash can going to be for all of them to?
It would be typically they're at the end of the drives, and that's working with the trash company to figure out where can they get in, where can they get out without having to turn around. So again, very preliminary, but that's something we work with the trash companies, and it's more of a logistics game of how do they get in and out without having to do 7-point turns and without disrupting the community as much as possible.
Okay, and you said at this point you're not sure what the rents would go for. You're still doing.
Yeah, I mean, again, by the time we would build and complete this, it would be 2 years away to have it completed. And a lot, I mean, rents have gone up 20% in the last year, so it would be hard to say.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have for right now.
Sure.
I can say this, the finishes that these guys are gonna be using, the rents are gonna have to be high to make it work.
Good.
From simple
Yeah,
economics.
so if it was delivered today, you could, 1 bedroom could be around $1,400 to $1,600. A 2 bedroom could be $1,900 to $2,100.
Well, I know that one of this commercial or this residential and commercial mixed use that we're doing in Old Town, their 1 bedroom, 1 bath rents for $1,412 a month. And they're very nice, obviously.
Right on the target.
I think I said
And
14 to
that's
16.
an important thing too, because this is, kind of a high income area, and we don't want
Sure.
trashy looking.
We can't afford to do anything, I mean, the density we're putting on this site, typically a site this size and what we're having to pay for it, we would make it a much denser project.
There wouldn't be 12 acres of grass.
Right.
Yeah,
And so I mean, the end product here, the finish out, the look and feel will be as nice, but or potentially nicer than probably a lot of new homes being built here that are built maybe from a production type builder that's
Right.
building 600 homes. Probably nicer than that. Maybe if someone's building their own custom home, maybe comparable to something like that, just on a smaller scale.
Okay.
So I will go to each individual, but I do have a lot of comments, and so I'm going to hit a couple of them in between each of you, so particularly pertinent. We did have some pre-development meetings with staff. I'd like to point out a couple of things. This current presentation has had quite a few modifications based upon input from staff and meetings, such as, and I know comments are out there in the community, oh, I can't believe there's 220 houses. Okay, there were 250 on this. They cut out 20 houses since the last presentation or last meeting, and the amount of green space has nearly doubled from when we met before. To that, I would say that they did an amazing job at, and I know there's a number where it becomes economically unfeasible to do the project at all, and based upon our previous conversations, they're pretty much there at the lowest number of units that they could build. The amount of trees have increased, the widths of the road, correct me if I'm wrong, but the widths of the road in this presentation are a little bit wider than what they were before and spaced out so that we would have room for fire trucks and also the C6 garbage truck. And my last comment at this point will be on the C6 issue for garbage. Our guys on the back of C6, they'll run up a house or two. So as you see coming up on Page Northeast, if they come in and on Scenic Loop and then they got that kind of interior square they could drive around, they're walking down a maximum of 2 and bringing up the cans so that they won't have to do very much back and forth. From my perspective as driving fire trucks, there's more space in this than most developments in San Antonio as far as space for commercial vehicles. But that would be dependent upon us making sure that traffic doesn't get double parked and perhaps parking on one side and space.
Potentially. How large that space is unknown. But I mean, typically for us as the owner, it benefits us to be able to have private yards because you can typically charge a premium for that. So if it works with the space, yes, we would have private yards.
I think a lot of the examples I saw out of Austin, the backyard's really small, but a lot of people use their small outdoors as a living space, right? Especially down here, the weather's pretty good except for that.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if that was something you guys were considering.
Yeah, so these would not be yards that you can go and run around in. A lot of times it's used maybe as a patio or just to be able to let a pet out and not have to keep it on leash or go walk with it. But you can let it out and you can go to the restroom, let it back in.
Okay.
That would be kind of the approach here.
So I appreciate that. Thank you. You guys mentioned you updated your slide deck from the P&Z meeting to tonight's presentation, and you showed a little bit more definition about the outer perimeter with trees, bigger trees, right? So there's more of a natural barrier between Scenic Loop and the back end of the property. Is your intent to put a fence there, or maybe more appropriately a brick wall? Because if you've been around Helotes, most of the communities have a brick wall. And I don't know, again, if that's something you guys have taken into consideration, at least on the Scenic Loop side.
Again, this is preliminary, but I think on the Scenic Loop side, it benefits. I mean, the facade of these homes, the yards, are going to be very attractive. And so to not, with landscaping and some buffers there, I think it's probably beneficial to leave that open around the back perimeter. So at Page North and Page West, more than likely we could do a wrought iron metal fence.
Okay.
And then along with landscape buffer zones that provide kind of a more natural barrier, softens it up.
And again, we're just providing you kind of our thoughts, ideas, maybe to help you with the direction of the proposal, the real proposal when you guys get to that stage.
Sure.
So it's just input, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Giving you guys ideas and kind of, I'm sure you guys have done your homework in the community. We're just, in case you hadn't, brick walls are kind of a big deal. And most of the you know, the neighborhoods.
Same brick or rock?
Do you mean stone?
Yeah.
Stone.
Stone brick,
Yeah.
hard material, something that looks like the rest of the city.
Yeah.
Thank you, folks. Da, 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 da. And I think the other thing I wanted to foot stomp was when you guys come up with your final plan, the delineation between the residential part of this and the retail part, when it comes to ingress and egress, I think is going to be critical as well. So it is hard to define. I know there's some weaving, and I think a good example in Helotes, if you go to Bandera Oaks in between Kentucky Fried Chicken and Navy Federal Credit Union, that's a pretty defined ingress and egress in and out of that small community that's still being built out. And I think that, and I don't want to speak for you, Cynthia, but that's kind of my vision, if you guys could have something a little
Straight
more
road.
straightforward, yeah.
Off of Bandera and on Scenic Loop. You have it on Scenic Loop, but from what I can see here, it's not a straight shot. And I think you can do that.
Yeah, we know we need to clean that part.
Yeah.
We'll show access points, we'll show walkability. I mean, this, we literally have just gone through this with Brooks, where they wanted the same thing.
All right.
That's all I got.
That's everybody. So I'll go ahead and give my comments on here, and I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate just to get another side on here, just for some thought. The straight shoots, sometimes that can work against you. You know, okay, straight shoot back to the community, but then you have people driving fast when you got, you know, pedestrians out there in the commercial areas. So sometimes having to come in the entry point, wrap around that commercial building, and then go up the street does keep a little bit of the speeds down. And so it is something for consideration, but keep that in your mind, because we do see accidents a little bit that I run into a lot where it's a straight shot so people drive faster, right? Particularly when we're going to have a dense and mixed residential and commercial area. The other thing I wanted to bring up is just a kind of a counterpoint to security gates. I totally get the concept of, exclusivity. We in the fire department, we call them false sense of security gates, because they do nothing to stop crime. Zero to stop crime. What it does is anybody can get in by just waiting a little bit, or friends of friends of friends ended up with the codes. And what would be good is if you had a gate where it required a code to get out. But that's not the way that the law allows it. So anybody can get out, and you just wait a little bit, you can get in. So it really does zero to stop it, but it might be an aesthetic thing. I don't care what you build with that.
Well, I spoke to the police chief, and he said it was a deterrent.
It can be a deterrent, but the stats don't bear much difference. And
that's our experience, and we're not opposed to it here, but a lot of times it is a false sense of security. You can get, if you want to get in, you can get in. And then there's oftentimes problems. I mean, mechanical problems, they break all the time. So again, we're not opposed to it here, but there is both sides of it.
So along the line of gates, I did hear a comment on P&Z. Oh my gosh, 220 houses and there's only 3 exits. Well, in Iron Horse Canyon, we have 639 homes with 1 exit. Cedar Springs has 601 homes with 501 homes with 2 exits. So I don't think the number of exits is causing a problem to whoever had raised that question.
I would like to rebut that in the sense that in this community, I feel sorry for those 6 homes right there on Scenic Loop, when all 220 people want to go to work in the morning at 7 o'clock, and it's all going to be stacked up right there, right there in front of their face. And I hope they can get out of their parking space to even get out of the community.
They have 1 exit?
The benefit we have, and I used Iron Horse Canyon as an example, so.
There's 1 entrance into Iron Horse Canyon.
I don't care about Iron Horse Canyon, I'm talking about this.
No, but
Somebody at P&Z suggested that there was only, that 220 homes with only 3 egresses.
Well, you know, the Elm Hollow Apartments, which are in Helotes, even though they're not in our city limits, they have 2. They have 1 on 1560 and 1 on Bandera Road, and they have 224 units.
And this has 3.
And that's, you know, that's fine. I'm just saying, I don't understand why we're talking
So
about Iron.
it's, well, I'm.
No, I was saying that the point that the person made at P&Z is that there's not enough egress. And what I'm trying to say is that there are 3 points of egress for less units than what are at Elm Creek,
Yeah,
for
no,
example.
well, again, you have to do, people don't get it until they do a little research and
Right,
realize.
right, and that's really always.
They just didn't,
I'd like to make one last comment.
Sure.
So I get the egress, the number of points you can get in and out of a space. But since we used Iron Horse Canyon as an example and Elm Hollow, there's long stretches of road for a lot of cars to queue up and they're not in front of a residential piece of property, hindering them from getting in and out of their property. This is different, which is a slightly different issue than what you're discussing, Mayor, but it is something, a consideration right there on Scenic Loop. A lot of traffic that tries to go out that way, like somebody said at PNC, we're not worried about traffic. Traffic flows normally are real busy in the morning, right? And then in the afternoon when people come home. I'm not so worried about the 3 egress points. I am a little bit worried though about those 6 homes right there at that entrance. When everyone tries to go out of there and they're not going to be able to get out of their property.
That is something that really kind of falls beyond our purview, but I will say
It's input to them.
In the hills, we have 160 homes, and I've been there 18 years. And going in and out, I've never seen more just out of the hills, if they take that as a microcosm, out of 160 homes. Never have I seen more than 2 vehicles at a time. As far as total amount of volume stacking up, but
Okay.
anyways, to continue on, I think that this product does bring an interesting needed mix as far as product for young single people, early small families, as far as affordability to be able to stay in. I know when my children, a couple 5-6 years, they're going to be out on their own. To buy a house right now is $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month if you can find anything in Helotes. So it does provide an opportunity, and as well as for the elderly. So that is a very good point. Foot traffic is going to be a problem. This is going to be a safety issue that I'm going to be concerned about, because what we don't want is hundreds of people dashing across a bunch of lanes. And that is going to have to be something you guys kind of scratch your heads on. Do we formulate a sidewalk plan that gets them all to the intersection and across? I know there'll be work with TxDOT, but just something to be cognizant of. It needs to be some sort of actually dedicated and designated that doesn't get people run over on.
We put a lot of thought into it, and the retail that we're contemplating, we feel like it's going to be an amenity to what's across the street. I mean, people are going to come over here and have dinner.
People are going to come from over there over here, which brings me to my next point. You work with the retail, correct? Mm-hmm. And can you give I understand it may be difficult to say names, but give us an idea of the type of retail establishments that you'll be going after. Will you have some restaurants in there? Will it be anything entertainment related? Will it be, what is typically, of course, you guys have had very substantial companies, so you have, I imagine, a laundry list of clients that you work with nationally and regionally.
Sure. So right now we're targeting 3 high-end and then 2 high-end and then 1 fast casual restaurant. So we probably had 2 to 3 restaurant pads, and then we were working on pursuing a small local grocery store that would have somewhat of a smaller neighborhood grocery feel to it.
Okay.
So it would work as service retail with some nice restaurants that would service the community.
Okay, so the elusive potential date night restaurant might be on our horizon with this. Okay.
Yes.
Sounds good. Thank you for that. I think that my final note. Oh, yes. So will there be some sort of, in your rental contract with your tenants, will there be some sort of exclusion to disallow them subletting for short-term, for example, Airbnb, due to the fact that you've got
Yes.
tenants utilizing?
Yeah, there's no subleasing.
Okay. That's what I suspected. That was a question that came up when we were working with a previous meeting. Thank you for clarifying that.
I have a quick question about the grocery store. So as this is your expertise, so you could brief me on this, but as a consumer, and it came up when I was campaigning, boy, if you could get a small grocery store down there on Bandera, it came up several times. in Northwest San Antonio, several small grocers have looked at coming and then it never materializes. I have some speculations on why that is. I won't elaborate from up here, but do you have any, I know you probably can't name names, but does your organization have certain contacts? Because there are challenges. We don't have a lot of small grocery stores in this part of the city at all.
Sure. Yeah, we do have contacts. We're in direct communication with one who's been looking around the area for a while. They're under construction with one in San Antonio right now. We recently built one for them up on Bulverde Road. And that they're looking for another location over here.
Fantastic.
So they're trying to open one now on West San Antonio. I'm not going to say any names, but they're telling us that as soon as they get that open and they see how that does, they will reapproach us. So nothing's done yet, but we are entertaining it.
Well, you just highlight that on approval. That will help you. I guarantee it.
Don't want to forget, Councilman Merchant, do you have any comments, questions?
No, sir. I appreciate the time. Good presentation. I've enjoyed it very much, but no comments or questions.
All right. Marion, did you have anything?
No, not about the presentation.
Okay. Well, excellent. Thank you so much for coming out. I appreciate your time, your effort, and also the considerations you've already displayed in your project. I look forward to your future submittal.
Great. Thank you. Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Did you have any comments, Marion, on anything else before we
No,
adjourn?
I just want to kind of clarify what the next steps were if they decide to move forward with this project.
Okay.
It is a PUD, which is basically a variance on the land, and it's so that we don't do spot zoning. So basically, there are requirements that you have to have commercial, green space, and residential on that property. When they submit their engineering site plan, it will detail every easement, every utility, the width of the roads, even where they're going to put directional and monument signs. So it will be very detailed. The only thing that will be left out is the building aspect of it, because that's after approval. Then they'll bring in building plans if it gets approved. So that's where it is. So if and when this comes to us, then y'all will be looking at a full engineering site plan, and that is why they decided to do a presentation first, because that is very it's costly, and so they want to
She's not having a stroke. We are having some technical difficulties.
see if this is a project that
We lost you a
sorry,
little
can you
bit,
hear me now?
Marion. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, let me try to repeat that. I said that PUD is basically a variance of the land. They've met as per our ordinance. This conceptual meets what they would need, what the three aspects, which is commercial, residential, and open park space. They will come back with an engineering site plan that details all the width of the streets, utilities, landscaping, any directional or monument signs. What won't be there is any of the site of the building plans. That doesn't come until if it gets approved. So if it gets approved, then at that point they will bring building plans for us to look at for each one of the buildings.
All right. Well, with no other questions or comments, we will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. The time is 8:06.